A husband and wife from Ohio had been in the middle of renovating their 40s home when they found something amazing. They just finished working on the first and second stories of the house, so it was now time to start on the basement. They didn't know what was coming for them. As they began to work on the demolition on their own, they hacked at the plywood. When they did this, something caught their eye. They were intrigued by the object they found and started looking into matters some more. However, they had no idea they'd need to get in touch with the FBI for what they found. As they started to chip away at the walls, the husband stumbled into some graffiti spread out across the room. The basement renovations were full of surprises from the get-go. The owner of the house couldn't believe what he was seeing before his eyes as he pulled back the wallpaper to find shocking writing and drawings all over. He could never have expected that this was just the beginning of everything. There was something lodged between the subfloor and the ceiling. He took a closer look, although it was hard because the object fit perfectly between the rafters. He had to rely on his strength and courage to grab the object and pull it towards him. The homeowner didn't pay much attention to his surroundings. He just kept working by cleaning the area and hammering through it. He also documented every single step of the journey with his camera. Some of the walls had been partly demolished when he started to tear down the ceiling. When he continued, he discovered something unbelievable. He eventually noticed that the huge bulk was a suitcase. It was gray and green, and someone left it there so no one would find it. He reached for the suitcase and was astonished by its weight. Why would a suitcase of this size be so heavy? Something told him he needed to approach this with caution. He began to become feverish from all the excitement of what hidden treasures could be within the box. He took a deep breath and carried on. He decided to ring up his wife and waited for her to return home. He didn't want her to miss out on the big reveal, and he also wanted to have her there in case something went awry. Someone went to great lengths to hide the suitcase, but why? While he waited for his wife, he began to inspect it and was shocked when he found out just how heavy it was. While it was very small, the mysteries hiding inside must be huge. He began to dwell on what could be hiding inside the piece of luggage. He figured it must be something very valuable and important because it was hidden so well. He thought it was mind-boggling to see these things, and he couldn't wait to find out what was hidden inside. The moment his wife got home, he explained to her what he'd found. It must have felt like Christmas for him because he was going to unwrap something he didn't know anything about. The couple gathered together and brainstormed what could be inside the box. Cash, cards, jewelry. The renovator had low expectations, thinking he'd probably just find some old sports cards, but he was far off. He couldn't believe what he found. They opened the suitcase together, although nothing seemed off at first. They found wads of wax paper wrapped around rectangular objects. At that point, they still didn't have a clue about the secret contents. It was only when they took out these bundles that everything began to make sense. The two of them started to unwrap all the wax papers they found inside. They held something together, but what was it? He started to peel off the waxy material. It then dawned on him. He was looking at money. The bundle had been hiding a huge stack of $20 bills, and this was just the first one. They began to look at the bills some more and realized they were all old. They couldn't believe the mere amount of cash they were staring at. Who'd put all this money there? They're all 20s. There may be a couple thousand here. We're freaking out at this point, the husband later explained to journalists. This doesn't happen to us. What do we do? Where are the cameras? They were eager to begin unwrapping all the other bundles. Were they going to reveal the same thing, or did they have something even more valuable? Men and women looked at these bundles in awe. They hoped that they would find the same thing in the rest of the bundles, and they were excited as they began to peel off wax paper layers. But they didn't have $20 bills. They had $50 and $100 bills instead. The second package didn't have any 20s, it was all 50s. What's going on here? There could be $5,000 here. Wait, the third package is all hundreds. This is out of control, he explained later on. They had a lot of questions going through their minds. The couple was finding stacks of mysterious money in their house, and at first they thought it was funny, but they quickly realized this wasn't a matter to be joking about. In all seriousness, where did the money come from and who was trying to hide it? The bills indicated they were hidden a long time ago, back to the 20s and 30s. How much time has passed since then? How much money was in there? They investigated the matter some more, and something became very clear to both of them. Everything from the money to the suitcase was very old, but they still wanted to learn more. They retrieved the bundles from the suitcase and received another surprise that answered a couple of their questions. A newspaper had been lying flat at the bottom, and they stared at the date and kept staring. 1951! The date indicated it was from the 25th of March 1951. The paper was from an old newspaper called the Cleveland Plain Dealer. The couple were in awe at the age. Aside from that, it was an issue of the local newspaper in Cleveland. They were surprised and excited to find out they found something amazing, but how much was this money worth in today's currency? They simply couldn't believe their luck. What made it even more amazing was the fact that some of these bills were star bills, which meant they were never made their way to the markets. They all came from over 7 decades ago. Talk about a great find. They were surprised and shocked, so they got in touch with a lawyer who helped them figure out the value. The lawyer said the money they found in the suitcase was worth around $23,000. After a long week full of celebration, lawyers, and recovering from the tremendous shock of the surprise, the couple decided it was time to return to their normal routine. They were overjoyed with the finding, but enough was enough. Little did they know, though, it wasn't over yet. Even people who find $23,000 in their ceiling still need to return to finish the renovations in their home. This DIY genius was once again left in disbelief when he found a second suitcase waiting for him in the ceiling. Once again, the renovator was alone when he discovered the second suitcase. He couldn't even contain his excitement. How was it possible that he missed this one when he found the first suitcase? He waited for his wife to return again to open it with her. "This is a wild ride for us, and I hope you all enjoyed it too," the man explained when he took to Reddit to share the story. "We're boring people and have been dumping our extra money to pay off our mortgage, and that's where this money will go too." He documented the entire thing with his camera, but he had no idea they were going to be in for more surprises in the future. It was only natural they'd get more curious. After all, could more mysteries be hiding within the walls of their house? There was also no way they could leave the basement in its current half-finished state, so they decided to continue searching. They soon learned something so shocking that it became pertinent to contact the FBI. The homeowners were aware they needed to keep going with the renovation process, so that's what they did. His wife finally walked through the door and they immediately burst open the suitcase. Just like the first one, it was stacked with thick wads of money. The final total will leave you speechless. They didn't know the bundles of bills weren't the only thing they'd find there. When they went back to work, the man saw yet another case hidden between the rafters. What could it be this time? There was no way they could forget about the treasure they found in the first one, so they were optimistic. However, the suitcase did not contain the same thing. There were no wads of money in the wax paper this time. Were they going to keep finding more of these as they continue with the renovation? He could tell he was going to find other precious and valuable items there. The suitcase was identical to the last one when it came to looks. Was it possible the suitcase contained the same thing as well? They didn't waste a moment. Finally, the excitement from the money-filled suitcases subsided and they returned home again to finish working on their home. This is when they discovered a strange door on the second floor that they'd always wondered about before. They opened it and found a disturbing secret area. The case was full of money lined up in a tidy manner and they gasped. Just how much money was in there? What else lay hidden in the house? This windfall happened to be even more significant than the first one, and they couldn't believe their fortune. Just how lucky were they gonna get? They had it appraised once again and learned that this batch was worth roughly $45,000. They were rich. They were both amazed and surprised again, but this made them more determined to keep going with the home renovation and improvements. They decided to keep going and figure out what else they'd uncover. As they kept working in the basement, they couldn't help but wonder if the house was hiding anything else. But they didn't expect that they would have to get in touch with the FBI for the next find. Now that they knew the house had some secrets, the couple felt motivated to keep exploring it. The motivation they had only grew bigger as soon as they figured out where to look next. There was a secret door housing the hot water heater that the realtor told them about. Their gut feeling told them this was something small but valuable. They decided to look behind it and their instincts had been spot on because they found the biggest secret in there. They opened the tiny white door when they realized the realtor had deceived them. The room for the water heater was just a ploy to trick the new owner of the house into believing it was a normal house. But when the door cracked open, they couldn't believe their eyes. There was a hidden room much larger than they expected, decorated with carpet pieces and leading to another surprise. He told his wife to stay back, unsure of what he was about to find. He began to wonder and his mind went to all sorts of places. What could be behind this door? Just take a second and imagine that your house is an entirely different side you never knew existed. Unfortunately, the door was shut by a master lock and secured with a bolt, but the man wasn't giving up yet. He was determined to find out what was behind this door. He quickly rushed downstairs, grabbed a hammer, and began to pound. Aside from that, they could clearly see the room had been used for quite some time. They could also see someone had tried to hide it. The room was in terrible shape and moldy and dark. Even though the homeowners had been living there for a couple of years already and renovating, this was the first time they ventured down here. For what reasons would they need to soundproof a room? One bad reason came to mind. Their minds went straight to something bad, like crime. All the walls, floor, and ceiling were covered in white soundproofing tarp. What was the reason they didn't want people to hear them up there? What could possibly be hiding in there? We already know he has a penchant for going about things DIY, so the curiosity made sense. He didn't have any idea his home was full of lies and mysteries, too. Of course, the secret room wasn't empty, and he found a briefcase lying on the floor. He was a little hesitant, so he stopped for a moment to collect his thoughts. That didn't last long, and his curiosity took over, and he quickly grabbed the briefcase. Let's not forget that places that come with hiding places often mean something's not right. What started out as a fun home renovation project took a sinister turn when he broke the lock and took a look inside. The items in the briefcase were shocking. An ancient wooden box, envelopes packed full of money from different countries, watches, rings, a jewelry box, and 4 one-pound silver ingots. Were they hiding their most prized possessions? And who were they hiding them from? The door led to another, and this was the room with white plastic tarp and heavy soundproofing. Something about the room didn't feel right to him. It was almost like straight out of a movie. A torture chamber? As they continued to look around the room, they saw something that cleared a couple things up about its past. As they kept exploring the relics left behind there, they found they needed to get in touch with the authorities right away. The couple started to uncover more odd things about the room. First, they found an old brown briefcase. Considering how much luck they had with the first two, they were under the impression luck was still on their side. But they'd soon learn just how off the mark they were. There was nothing good inside the bag, which is something they soon learned. Just like when they did when they were working on the basement, they took some photos and documented what they found. After all, this was one experience they didn't want to ever forget. They were curious to see what was hiding there, so they finally opened the case and took a look. It was full of someone's valuables. It also contained something else. They saw envelopes full of money from various countries. As they continued investigating, they found a black Sentry safe tucked away in the corner of the room. They started to become even more skeptical. What could possibly be hiding in a secret safe inside a room within a secret room? There was something off about the secrecy and mystery surrounding this area. He started to feel intimidated and worried and knew there was no way the safe contained money, pieces of jewelry, or more common items. He knew that it wasn't something he'd be glad to find. All the things inside seemed valuable, but what were they doing in this room that was secured so well? They could feel the room was concealing more secrets, and they were right about that. He decided to put these thoughts in the back burner and open the safe anyway. When he cracked it, he found a note that confirmed his worst suspicions. It only read, "Save yourself." The wording was ominous enough, but the fact that the penmanship was rough and the words were written in black ink made the effect all the more sinister. Who wrote it and why? He knew that they'd only find the truth if he kept going with the investigation. Not long after this dawned on them, they found other mystery items that went beyond their comfort zone. It was time for the authorities to come. The man was so intrigued that he continued to dig deeper into the rest of the things inside the safe. But the next thing he found inside made him feel unsafe. Inside, he found a number of tapes that came with a handwritten message that said, "Do not." He could tell these records were videotapes. If he wanted to find out the truth, he was gonna have to watch them. What would he find there? The man then took out all the tapes he found in the safe and took a closer look. He was surprised when he noticed they seemed much newer than the other things they uncovered. He felt scared when he noticed them, although it told him something else. Atop the tapes, they found a series of numbers that looked like labels. But one tape didn't come with a label. 5 of the 6 tapes had tags. Did someone come up with all these in the name of a twisted game? It was getting out of hand. They finally concluded it was time to call authorities. The homeowner couldn't contain his curiosity though, and this was how he soon found out what the tapes contained. After looking at them for a few seconds, he dialed the authorities straight away and asked them to come to the house as soon as they could. The FBI then confiscated these tapes, but no one outside these parties knew what footage they contained. Only the homeowner, maker, and agents knew what's on the tapes. His curiosity led him to discover something he ended up wishing to unsee. There's a chance that we'll never find out what was inside those hidden tapes. The media has come up with a theory that it contained footage of terrible crimes that happened in the soundproof room. It remains a mystery as no one knows just what videos were on there. Of course, the investigation then raised a series of questions about everything they found on the property, from the bundles of money to the hidden tapes. What kind of people used to live here? Are there other secrets waiting to be discovered? What would you do if you find the same thing in the house you've been living in all this time? And most importantly, are you confident enough to say that nothing like this is hiding in your very own home? This couple got lucky in the fact that they were safe and didn't get hurt from any of the discoveries. They did the right thing in contacting authorities because this was something they couldn't have handled on their own. Now they'll always have their own very unique story to tell the world.